Welcome back to the Wealthy Inventor podcast, where we help guide you through the mysterious world of product development and help you demystify the process. Back with us again is Francesca Kuglen, and today's topic is how important are patents anyways? And I think this is going to be a really interesting talk because the fact that so many people who call themselves inventors seem to only talk about patents and how important it is to file a patent. And it's like, it's like, how important are patents really? So I know that may be, heresy to some to even pose that question, but let's go into it.
I think it's really, really juicy. I think that's a great, juicy topic. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So, well, like I said,
can I just jump in?
Yeah, jump in.
Okay, so for everyone that's listening, unless you're listening somewhere where you don't have paper and a pen, I'd like you to grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or a crayon, whatever you have near you. And I just want you to draw a line down the center of your paper. And on one side, I'd like you to write patent. On the other side, I'd like you to write don't patent. And I know it seems strange, but as we work through, there's essentially 8 questions that I always ask myself. And I should be very clear. I only pay to patent a fraction of the items that I've invented.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Patents are expensive. They take a long time to get. And I don't know if everyone is aware, but most of the patents that are ever granted never actually get to market.
What was the percentage? It was a pretty high percentage. I remember
very
reading
high
it.
percentage. And you know what? I meant to ask my patent attorney before tonight's podcast. I apologize. Because I know it's an extraordinarily high percentage. And most patent attorneys, if you ask them what is the number one mistake your clients make, they usually say they rush into patenting something that has no market value, that no one is going to buy, and they've spent a lot of money. So I really think this is a strategic question, and I think it is something that if you want to be honest with yourself, this is one of those. That's why I'm having you write it down, because it's easy to forget things unless you actually engage your brain and you write. So the first question that you should always ask yourself is, how much money do I have? And I know this is where I'm going to lose half the audience, because they're like, I have no money. Or I have a lot of money and it doesn't matter.
I got credit cards.
Yeah. Okay.
Or used to.
Yeah. So listen. So listen to this, because this is really important. How much money do I have? By that I mean, if every month you're seriously only getting by, that's you're paying your bills, or you're already in debt, or you're living on credit cards. Honestly, I want you to, I'm not saying that that's a strike against you. I'm just saying a patent is going to absorb a lot of money, thousands of dollars, not hundreds, thousands. And if you choose to file it yourself without an attorney, which is completely fine. I filed one of my own patents in the beginning. It's just extremely laborious. You're going to have to learn a lot. It's going to eat up hours and hours and hours of your time. So you just want to know, how much money do I have to spend for this? If money is no option, great. Then you put a little check in patent. That's great. If money is an issue right now, I want you to put, maybe this would be a reason not to patent, but we're gonna work through the list. Number 2 is, how much is it going to cost me to manufacture, tool up, make my prototypes, do my CAD work, do a presentation for licensing or whatever I want to do? How much is all that going to cost? And a lot of people out there are sitting there saying, I have no idea, which is fair, because it can range. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to throw out some numbers. CAD design, unless you do it yourself, if you're hiring somebody, it's going to cost you probably a minimum of about $500 to a maximum of a couple thousand. I would say $1,700, $1,000, $1,700 is probably a good benchmark. Prototypes.
That's for like a 3D model.
Yes, for you to get a 3D model.
I have met a couple. Yeah, I remember meeting a couple of people that they specialized in making 3D models.
Yes.
And that was around the range. It seemed like it was in the couple of $1,000 range that they seem to be quoting most of the time.
Yes.
'Cause it's very tedious work.
It's tedious work. It's an expertise. And if you don't, now again, if in your little chart here, you go, hey, I do my own CAD, great.
That's a cost savings right there.
That would be a big cost savings. If you don't, then I just want you to put down on a list that it's going to probably cost you that much. Tooling up, if you want to make some plastic molds, I'll just use, because a lot of people are using plastics. If you're doing them here in the United States, simple molds are going to cost you probably between $4,000 and $9,000. That's just for them to cut the mold to make the prototype. That does not include actually making the prototypes. Now we're gonna talk about something in just a second. When I'm now talking about the standard, I'm not talking about quick prototyping. Right now, I'm talking about the standard when you cut a steel mold and you actually create a plastics mold. If you did that overseas, it's going to cost you probably about $2,000, $2,500. Significant savings. If you want to do quick, if your product can absolutely be a quick prototype, then there's a lot of different ranges in there. Does that mean that the product that you have, for example, if it's a sewing product, you might only need to spend $300 on a baby carrier or something that needs to be tooled up? By tooling, I mean by sewing up a prototype. If it's something very intricate, you need to take that into consideration. So we're moving on into question number 3. How long of a lifespan? And this is where you do this honestly with yourself. There are many things I've created, and I know that their lifespan is maybe 2 to 3 years or something. I don't patent those things because it's gonna it doesn't make much sense unless there's some other things.
Can you explain that to the listener? Because a lot of people just automatically, a patent will protect my idea, and so I need to patent it, and they don't spend any time thinking about what is the lifespan of their idea. If it is something more of it's only applicable to today's market, or if it's just a small window of opportunity.
That's a very good point. Okay, so for example, I'll kick out a couple things. When I say lifespan, think about how quickly things are moving now, and think about if your product is an iteration of something, or if it's a freaking new disruptive technology, which we're going to talk about in a second in number 6. But the concept is your product, for example, people come to me all the time. I can even give you a couple examples of my own, but people come to me all the time and they'll say, I have just created this new, maybe it's a burping bra, or don't laugh, but there's a lot of women that are giving birth and they need burping cloths and burping bras and all sorts of stuff. And I say, okay, that's interesting. But essentially it's an iteration of something that's already out there. It's a stretch bra, and and I'm thinking, okay, then what that means is it's already an existing product that many, many, many companies are involved in. And if you're thinking that all you're going to be doing is changing the bra strap, the way that the bra strap connects, that's an item that I'm going to tell you probably has a couple years at the most, because it's something that somebody's going to easily get around. They're gonna be out there, and and there's already companies larger than you in the market, and they're gonna say, okay, well, we can get around this with a Velcro tab or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, you're going to put a ton of money into something that your competitors are going to be able to get around within a couple years. Versus, have you created something entirely new? One of the things I can talk about is the Hairzing line, the Upzing line that I do with Conair. What I recognized when I went to them was that it was a category. It was a category of new women's accessories, which meant that it had a very large market, but categories are headbands. Well, headbands have been around now for about 300 years. No, seriously. And hair combs have been around. The first hair combs that were made were in like the 1300s. So what that means to me is it's a product that already has a lifespan, but now we've given it something radically, completely different. Hair combs that work completely differently than anything else that use, for example, silicone banding or resin banding or something that we've made. Okay, now that means that we're going into a category that's established that has millions of women that want to wear it, but this now does all sorts of things that your grandma's hair combs never did. Okay, that is a category that's probably going to last 17 years, especially when I pair up with the largest manufacturer of hair accessories in the world. Okay, that is something that I would patent. That's why I went after so many patents. That's why I went after international patents. But there have been many, many, many items. I've made all sorts of things, clasps for jewelry and stuff that I just knew didn't have that long of a lifetime. And there's no way I'm going to spend $15,000 patenting something that I am not going to have for at least 10 years. So,
okay, that's a good rule of thumb. If you don't see that you're going to have it for at least 10 years, then odds are probably don't want to go with the patent. And besides, isn't, some people say differently, but from what I've, most recent times for taking a patent is usually like, at least 3 years now in order to get a patent?
It's actually taking 2.5 years before the patent office even opens your patent application.
Right.
So if you are planning, let's just be real. Again, it's strategic, and we're going to have other discussions about this, but if you are planning on bringing something to market, that by the time they open your patent, someone will either have, a larger company will have gotten around it, or it was just kind of a stopgap in what people are already buying. Maybe it's a new button for, let's use that. I'm using some very low tech kind of things, but maybe it's a new way that someone's going to button their jacket. Well, even though that's a new product, and even though it would be a completely new invention and everything else, the reality is not everybody is going to suddenly change to that. There's going to be all sorts of competition, and there's people that are in that market bigger than you. And therefore, I'm just going to tell you, I don't actually think that's worth going after with a patent. Now, what it might be worthwhile is trying to find leverage with a larger company, working with them, possibly licensing to them, possibly getting a provisional patent. We'll discuss all these things in a second, but it's not necessarily worth going after something that, honestly, in your heart of hearts, do you believe that this is such an incredible new invention that it is going to be here selling in droves in 17 years? If you don't think that, do not even think for a second about going after a patent, because it is not going to be worth it. I'm being as honest and frank as I can, because we're talking inventor to inventor, and I want to save you money.
Well, and also the just if people don't know, the reason you're saying 17 years is that's the length that the patent covers, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, that is the length of a utility patent. Design patents have less. A design patent is just on how something looks. A utility patent is on how something actually functions. If you cannot see your product seriously, and I want you to honestly think about this, 17 years with everything that's happening in technology, with everything that's happening in the industry, if you can't see, for example, if you have an automotive product, you can't see that cars are going to be exactly the same way that they are, like a carburetor filter, that in 17 years there's going to have been no progress in that, then that's something that you want to patent. If you think that, in fact, cars are going electric and battery and everything is changing, I'm just going to tell you, I wouldn't put a whole lot of money into that, because you're right. There's a huge disruptive technology afoot, and you might have a product that in 2 years is obsolete. So,
and also, I think the other thing, we were having a discussion about this the other day, that oftentimes inventors get so fixated on filing the patent that they miss the whole point
Yes.
altogether, because they end up making it their whole existence as is about patenting an idea.
Yes.
And they miss the point that no, that's not the point. The point is to get an idea to market and make money with it.
And make money with it. Which, thank you, Alex, for bringing us back on track, because let me just go to number 4 and number 5, because this is exactly your point. Number 4 question is my product easy to knock off? Because here's what you get to hear is exactly what Alex was saying is, if your product is easy to knock off and it's not going to be opened by the patent office for 2.5 years, chances are before it even ever gets opened, it'll have already been knocked off. So if it is that easy to knock off your product, I want you to put that in the no column of should I possibly consider getting a patent for this? Because the answer would be no. Number 5 question is there a market leader already out there? For example, let's say you've created something and it is something that Campbell Soup. You have created a new pop top to open a soup can, or you have created a new shoe sole for Nike. There is something that you have created that is going to completely transform the way that running shoes or basketball shoes or whatever are made. Okay. Look and see in that industry, is there already a leader or possibly a couple who are really strong? Because if there is, you might, again, what you want to put in your column there is, yes, this would be a yes in the column, because if there's already a market leader, and you are a small inventor or a product developer or a small company, even a mid-sized company, chances that you're going to be able to bring something to market and actually be successful against Nike, not real good chance. Now, if you have a technology or something that would be patentable that has a long lifespan, that would improve or give them a market edge, that is something that you might want to patent, because you can license that. And when working with when working with a large company, if you're a small company, you want to have a patent. So that would be if there's an industry leader that's really large, put in your column, yes, that might be something I want to patent. Then we get into the number 6. How large of a market size is it? For example, people come to me all the time and they'll say something like, I have a product for horses, for people that are interested, people that are in showing horses. Now, that's a good sized market, but it's a niche market. It is a niche market. And they'll say to me, this is going to be really awesome because it's going to be able to do some braiding to the horse's tail that's going to put it into a new market. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm already in my head thinking, how big is that market? How much money do I have? But all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that comes up is that market large enough? Is there enough people in this country or wherever you want to sell it that are so into, remember, there are lots of horse people, but not every horse person wants to braid their horse's tail. So I'm saying it's not just the horses market. It's not just the equestrian market. Now you're going, okay, well, here's my market. And now you start cutting it down and you get it down to people that are showing horses and have to have a specific braiding pattern for the tail. Okay. I'm going to tell you that would probably not be a large enough market for you to patent. So if that's the kind of product that you've got, I'm going to say, that would probably be don't patent, and it would be because my market isn't large enough. Now, meanwhile, if you are a tech person and you've just created a new, I should have this in my head, but you've just created a new product that's going to sweep the market to find out if patents exist, if there's knockoffs out there already, and you've got a new technology. Okay, that would be something that's disruptive, huge market, huge technology, going to be around for a long time. These are already hitting it. I would put that definitely in my yes, this is worth filing for a patent on. But that gets back to your point, Alex, which is, are you going to make money at this? Are you going to make money selling something that you could bring into tech or you could sell to Nike? Or are you going to make money spending $15,000 or $20,000 just to get the patent? And then you're going to be braiding horses' tails for a very, very select niche market. I want you to begin to start seeing the difference in those.
Yeah, and then the sad truth is oftentimes they'll end up spending $20,000 and they didn't even have a good shot of even making $20,000. So they're lucky to even break even.
Yes. And that is something that I want to every inventor that's going to be following Wealthy Inventor. I want to talk on that gut level, that level of, I invent a lot of products. I have lots and lots and lots of what I call trade secrets. And I've actually sold a company with, I think I had like 3 or 4 patents at the time, but 27 trade secrets. And they bought the company because of all of those products, not just the patents. And as a matter of fact, it was one product that was trade secret that they brought to market that became a new division for the company that acquired me. And it was never patented. Never patented.
Talk a little bit about that about trade secrets. Actually, what makes something a good candidate to be a trade secret? And obviously, but maybe start with, what's the definition of a trade secret?
Okay, well, remember one of the most famous examples is Coca-Cola.
And I'm thinking that, and then also like KFC.
Oh, and
we know there's like 9 ingredients, but we don't know what they are.
Exactly.
I'm sure one of them is salt and pepper or something, but I'm not sure what the other ones are.
Exactly. And I'm sure butter's in there somewhere. On really good, yummy garlic. Anyway, so here's the thing. A trade secret, there's many products that are trade secrets. Wrigley's gum is not patented, but does anybody know exactly how to make Wrigley's gum or Frito-Lay's or anything like that? No. The reality of a trade secret is you will always be able to keep that as a trade secret. Coca-Cola is still a trade secret. If Coca-Cola had filed for a patent, once their patent was expired, which would have been 17 years, then anybody that wanted to see the exact formula for Coca-Cola would have been able to duplicate it, because once your patent dies, that's it. It doesn't die, but once your patent expires, you can't, it's open territory. So trade secret.
And not only that, when it is patented, it's still, even though it's patented, it's now out there with the specific details.
Yes.
And now it gives people even more opportunity to try to figure out how to navigate around it and say, okay, how can I change it just enough so now I'm not violating this patent, but now essentially, rendering your patent mostly useless.
Exactly. So I'll give an example from my own life, because this is why I made the decision. At one point, I created a type of resin. Now, think of resin like a cake. So you can put in, it's a lot like silicone or anything else, but it's a polyelastomer that I was working with. And so you can put in 6 eggs and 10 pounds of flour to a cake. And it's going to taste very different than if you put in 10 eggs and 1 pound of flour. So what I'm saying is, I knew that there was enough people out there, enough really large companies, that if I completely divulged the formula that resin was made out of, somebody was going to be able to knock it off or come very, very close. And I wanted to get first to market. I didn't want to worry about the rest of that stuff. I wanted to get that product out there and then begin to start going with iterations of it over and over and over, so that we'd always be ahead of the curve. I never wanted to disclose, and I never have disclosed what was in that resin, because I never filed for patent on it. I've just used it as a trade secret. So that was the difference for me. Again, going back to those questions, what I recognized was, yes, I had a big market, but I also was up against, let's see, Dow Chemical and 3M. Let's see, what are the odds? Let's just guess. What would be the odds that I would be able to outmarket them? Probably not very good. So that's the kind of place that I decided, and I made a conscious decision. I'm going to keep everything secret, because then they're going to have to go through trial and error. That resin took me 27 months to create. 27 months. So let's just be real, because everyone that's listening that's an inventor, as you're in the process, You have no idea how long it's going to take. And I thought, wow. And then I realized it took me 27 months. Okay, so it's going to take some incredible polyelastomer engineer maybe 12 months, but that's 12 months that I'm ahead of them. I'm not giving them anything. And I don't believe that within 17 years, my resin is still going to be out there because of all of the technologies that are coming forward, all of the different materials. It didn't make any sense. So I'm hoping I'm hoping I'm giving you guys enough real world experience to let you know that I make those hardcore decisions in my own life. I don't want to spend $15,000 and give my recipe away to somebody else so easily. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, but that's good. I mean, that actually almost kind of gives another option, because a lot of someone who's an inventor will think, if I don't patent it, then, it's just going to get knocked off and I can't do anything, then don't even go forward with it. And now it sounds like, okay, well, it depends. I mean, if there is something that is not easily replicatable, because there's a certain process involved with how to make it, how to create it, and it's mysterious enough as what goes into it, that maybe it makes more sense to just say, I'm not going to patent it. Try your darndest to try to recreate and reverse engineer what I did here. And I mean, when you say trade secret, essentially,
that's what you're saying.
You just say trade secret is, I'm just not telling how I'm doing it. That's basically what makes something a trade secret.
And by the way, trade secret is a really good place to stay as an inventor. Trade secret is awesome. As a matter of fact, you also nailed it, because let me explain the decision one step further. My decision when I was creating this resin was, if I was going to Dow Chemical and I wanted to license to them, oh, heck yes, I probably would have at least filed for a provisional patent. A provisional patent is what the patent office allows you to do. It's very inexpensive. You can file it yourself, and you don't have to file an original application. Meaning you don't have to file the entire application. You can, for a very small amount of money, and by small amount of money, I mean somewhere between $750 and $1,000, which in the patent world is a small amount of money. So if I was going to go into negotiations with Dow Chemical, I very probably would have filed for a provisional, because I would have just wanted to go into negotiations with a big, huge company who has labs, who create polyelastomers all, till the cows come home. I would have wanted something else in my path. But what I did instead is I knew that resin was only part of a greater product that I was going to be selling to a different industry and a different company. Now, that company was not they didn't have chemical labs. They didn't know how to do polyelastomers. All they wanted was a freaking product that would work for their customers. And I knew that resin was going to be part of that. And nobody was going to be able to duplicate that easily, but they would want the whole thing. And sure enough, that's exactly how it worked. So that's a different strategy, but it all depends, again, on who are you looking. The last two questions are about, what do you want to do? I personally do not want to continue to start companies and try to manufacture products and get them into the consciousness of America. It is extremely expensive, extremely difficult. You need a team. You need an entire infrastructure. So if you're thinking, which are my last two questions, if you're thinking that you're going to do this in your garage, let's look at that. Because before you decide, am I going to file for patent or not, you need to ask yourself, what do you want to do? And this sounds like, now it sounds like I'm being airy-fairy, but I'm not. What do you want to do? Is your wife already telling you that you don't spend enough time with kids and her? Is this a problem in your life? Okay, if it is, you don't want to start a company. No, you don't want to do this. If you already are a single mom and you have 6 children, okay, you probably don't want to start a company. So you need to sit and say, what do I want to do? Do I want my life to be the way it is and possibly have more money from licensing? Or do I want to give up my day job And do I have enough money, going back to question number one, to literally go full bore on this and literally do this? Or do I not?
Well, it definitely starts, it's the whole start with the end in mind, and
Yes.
think about what kind of lifestyle that you want. I mean,
Yes.
do you want something where you're going to be just living, sleeping, breathing, eating, everything, this one thing? Is that what you want? Because that's what, like you said, oftentimes that's what it takes in order to be a manufacturer of something.
Oh, yes. Because it's not just manufacturing, it's marketing.
Marketing,
It's
sales.
it's
Yeah.
sales, it's the whole nine yards. And I've built, founded and built 3 companies. And I can guarantee you, while I've been doing all of this, I've also licensed products to large companies. And I can guarantee you, and I've said this to you, Alex, I have made more money, hands down, licensing products than I have ever made in my salary. I get checks for licensed products, and you open the mail, or it's wired into your account.
Wow.
And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is like the lottery. Versus getting up every morning and having the phone start ringing, and having it be problem after problem after problem, because that's really, frankly, what business is. So, so I'm just letting you know that if anyone is out there is on the fence, you need to know that I lean towards licensing. And that leads me to the final question is, so if you've listened to all of these questions, and we're going to recap the questions, but if you've listened to these questions and you get to number 8, the question that I want you to ask yourself honestly is, do you have the talent and do you have the team? Because this is not Hewlett and Packard starting in their garage. This is not the world that Hewlett Packard started in. Hewlett Packard couldn't start in a garage now. That is Mrs. Fields cookies. These are those things that you think, oh yeah, Mrs. Fields, she started in her kitchen. Well, kind of, but she already had a very wealthy husband, and that helped her a lot. Let's just be really, really frank about what it costs to start a company in America. Up until $100 million in revenue, you are considered a small company. So I'm just going to go out there and say, if you do not have the team, if you do not have the talent, if you've never had a company, if you hate math, if you don't like computers, if you don't have incredible sales talent or somebody that you can lean on, these are the kinds of things that you want to consider licensing instead of patenting. And on your list, then, you would say, you know what? I want to patent my product because I'm going to try to license it. If you don't have the talent, if you do have the talent and the team and everything else, you might not need a license, because you might be able to get yourselves first to market before anybody else. You don't need to go to someone larger and say, hey, I have this great product, and why don't you license it from me and you guys take it forward. If you have the talent and the team, you might want to start your own company and just be first to market. It generally gets you the winning spot.
Well, I mean, I guess the other question is the product that you're trying to do, is it more of a niche market, or is it a broad general population type of thing? So yeah, if it's a product that you want to have in every Walmart store, then you need that ability to manufacture on a massive scale. But maybe it's a product that's a little bit more of a niche market, that maybe it's a high ticket item that has a lot of built-in profit, and you don't need to sell tons of them in order to make a nice comfortable lifestyle from that. So I guess that's something to also consider.
Yes. There are many people that are listening, and they're thinking, you know what? I have two incomes in my household, and maybe I have a career and I've retired. Maybe I have a spouse or a partner who is going to support me through this. Okay, then if your goal is, I'm going to have this really cool niche product, I'm going to have an internet business, I'm going to run all of this because I've done something similar, or I don't want to be IBM. I just want to stay small. Okay, these are the reasons you're asking yourself these questions, because just like what you're saying, Alex, if that's what you want, then absolutely you might not need patents at all. You
Right.
can do that yourself. And I would suggest you put that 15 grand into running and starting your business, because that's going to get you much more bang for the buck than sitting around for 2.5 years waiting for the patent office to open your patent. So before we go to the last part, I want to just recap these questions because I want to make sure that nobody missed them. Just really quickly, the question number one, if you are thinking about, do you want to spend money on your patent? Do you want to spend money to patent? Is how much money do you have to spend on a patent? How much money? How much extra money do you have in your life or your business?
Yeah, just in general, like what are your current resources?
Yes. It's a very important question, guys. Do not gloss over this one. Number two, how much is it going to cost me to just do my CADs, to just tool up, to get prototypes done, to do all of those things? Remember that just because something works on paper doesn't mean when you start getting to your prototype stuff, yeah, it rarely works that way, guys. I'm just going to mention to everybody out there. So remember I said 27 months it took me to invent that resin? Okay.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money, guys, a lot of money. And that was really scary. So,
well, and just imagine if you were to patent immediately the very first version, and then you go, "Oh crap! I didn't quite make it the right way, and it doesn't quite work here." And then, so now you basically need to file another patent, right?
Well, no, you can amend your patent in the first year, and there's some amendments that you can do, but they're all going to cost you. So you're right. Mm-hmm. Wait until you are absolutely certain of what you want, and you've gone through this exercise, because it's going to help you so much, and it could save you literally, guys, thousands of dollars and hundreds, if not thousands, of hours, and your marriage. Frankly, there's many inventors that lose their marriage.
Yeah, and not to mention, if you end up going to a company that's going to be manufacturing it, if you try to get the full patent right out the gate, and then go to them with a full patent, odds are they'll probably, once they're actually trying to go into the tooling to manufacture it, they'll be like, oh, well, actually, here's some improvements, or, oh, this doesn't quite, we can manufacture it cheaper if we redesign it this way. And now you basically wasted all that money on a patent that they're going to have to just, like I said, amend it, or in some cases have to file an all new patent.
Exactly.
And you just threw your money away.
Ding, ding, ding. This is exactly what we're trying to get across.
And we're assuming that your idea was even a good idea to begin with, because that's the other thing. I think it's important to reiterate, did you actually do some market research to see that anybody actually wants this thing?
Well,
because a lot of people are too quick to just go straight into, I got to patent this thing. And that's going back to the beginning of this interview.
Yes.
When we talked about, I think the number, I know it was well over 95% of patents never come to market, never make a single penny. I think it might even be like 98% or something, like crazy high number. And that's because
huge.
No one actually
did this research.
No one does the research. They just go, oh, I got an idea and it sounds like a good idea to me, so let me just go patent it, and I don't bother actually seeing if anybody wants this thing.
And actually, we have an entire podcast that's going to be coming up about how to do market research without an MBA, how to do market research without an MBA, without a marketing team behind you. How can we teach you to understand the market and go out there? But hang on, let me just go through these questions. So number one is, how much money do you have? Number two is, how much is it going to cost you to even get tooling up? Forget the patent, tooling up manufacturing prototypes to even make sure that your product is going to work and function. Right. Number three is, what do you honestly think is the lifespan of this product? Do you honestly see in 14 to 17 years that there will be no knockoffs of this product, that it will still be standing and doing really, really well? And if you can't even see 10 years, then the answer is no. Okay. The fourth question is it easy to knock off? This gets back to exactly what Alex was just saying. If your product is easy to knock off, and number five is there a market leader? If you have not done your research, if you have not honestly looked at your product and said, gee, if I was going to try to get around this, I'd add a loop here, or I'd do this, or I'd make it into something else. If it's going to be that simple to get around your product, it's probably not something you want to patent or go for a patent on. And if there's a market leader and you've already been out there in the market and you've seen the market leader and you have some idea of how that market leader works, where they are, what kind of products they have. You might be better off licensing to them. Now, again, that means that if there is a market leader, that pushes you towards patent, because a lot of the big market leaders, you might want to have something that's legally on your side. If there is no market leader, if there is no business, that's a whole nother discussion. Because one of the first questions is, well, why is there no business? Why does nobody want an item that's going to braid a horse's tail this quickly? Is there something that the rest of the market knows that perhaps I have fallen in love with my product and I don't, and I've forgotten? But we're moving on. Number 6 is, do you have a disruptive technology? Is your product gonna literally set the world on fire? And I'm being serious. Did you just invent PayPal? Do you have a technology or something? Did you invent a new kind of silicone that people can eat and it will clean out their intestines and help them lose weight? Okay, that's a disruptive technology. Let's just pay attention. If I had invented that, oh yes, I'd be running to patent on that. Then the 7th question is, what do you want to do? What do you want your life to look like? Where is this a career for you? Are you really into inventing more and more things? Is that what you really love? Then think about that very carefully before you decide, are you going to patent or are you not going to patent? If you're
why would you going on that? Well, actually going on that, a lot of people end up getting too attached to their one idea. Yeah. And I don't know, is there, maybe it's like a fear that they're not going to think of any other good ideas or something? Because that's the one thing. If you're going to have success in this world of inventing,
yep.
Very rarely are you going to have just the one hit, home run right out of the gate. It's usually, you got to go through a lot of ideas before you get the good ones, right?
Did Michelangelo carve only one angel out of stone? No. The creative mind, when allowed to be creative, is amazing. It will start firing out all sorts of things. And anybody that's out there that's in product development or invention knows this. Your brain will start to fire, and maybe that's your talent set. Maybe your talent set is you keep coming up with creative ideas. You need to find a place to license them. And when you decide, what does my life want to look like? I want you to think really seriously. Do I really, I would love staying at home, being a stay-at-home dad, for example, inventing products, doing stuff, and then having places that I could license them to. That would be my dream. Or, no, I want to leave the company that I'm with because I've seen 6 of my products make $100 million for these people. And I know that I've got a number 7 in me, and a number 8, and a number 10, and a number 100. And I'm going to take that creative talent and I'm going to go out and start a company. So you have to decide, what do you want your life to look like?
And also, I want to add to that, do you just have the emotional aptitude of, someone who is an entrepreneurial, who is entrepreneurial? Like, there's a lot of people who are very uncomfortable with the unknown and dealing with risk. And so if you're someone who, the moment you have to take out a small loan on something and you're not sure if this thing is going to work or not, and it's keeping you up late at night immediately with cold sweats, that might be an indication that maybe this is not for you, and that the most you should try is the licensing route. Yes. And then while keeping your job, at least for the meantime, for the time being.
Yes, because frankly, you're nailing it, Alex. The reality of the world is that running a business is not actually glamorous. It is, in fact, unglamorous. It is sleep deprivation. It is exhaustion. It is crunching numbers all day long. Honestly, if this does not sound good to you, don't go this route. It doesn't mean anything. It's like honor your talent, honor your spirit. If you're really good at something, go and do it. Trying to shore up what you're bad at is never going to be as successful as trying to strengthen what you're good at. So it's very important that by this time in your life, and hopefully there's nobody out here, nobody listening that's like 12 years old, because you at the age of 12 do not yet know what your strengths and talents are. But you should, by the age of 50, 60, know what your strengths and talents are. In your 20s and 30s and 40s, that's what you're developing. You should know at this point, do you want to push paper? Are you a great manager? Are you a wonderful leader? Do you love reading spreadsheets? Okay, well, then be a business owner. That's kind of what comes with that territory. And then the last question, number 8, was, do you have the talent and the team to do this? If you are going to take your product and you want to license it, you don't necessarily need you don't need a team, because you can hire an attorney. You can hire people to help with that, somebody to do your financials. But if you are saying, I'm going to invent this product and then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to create a company and I'm going to start manufacturing this and da-da-da-da-da, you need to be really clear that you have enough money, that you have the talent, and that you have a team behind you, because you're not going to be able to do it in the economy. It's not the bad economy, it's the way that the market has just changed. So you're not going to be able to do that without a good team, without financial strength, and unless you have some really good entrepreneurial talents, which is what Alex was talking about.
Well, actually, all of this talk, and going back to the original question of, how important are patents really, it just makes me think of the metaphor that I think we were talking about before of a chess game. Mm-hmm. And that, so if anything, patents are nothing more than just one of the pieces on a chessboard, that you use it strategically when you need it. Sometimes you'll sacrifice it or never use it because it won't be advantageous, but in certain plays, having that chess piece is advantageous of winning the game, which is getting your product to market.
Yes.
And making money, and a lot of people end up thinking that everything revolves around just this one chess piece, not thinking, oh wait, now I have this whole team. I have this, all these different pieces. I got all my pawns. I've got the rook. I've got the knight. Got the bishop. And I think someone else. I don't know where I heard it from, but they were also using the same analogy where it was like, the bishop was related to customer service. The rook was related to marketing. Or the queen was or I think it was like the queen was marketing, because that's actually the most valuable, most important piece.
The queen is always marketing. Yes.
Yeah. So what would be having the patent be then, do you think?
Well, here's the thing. You're hitting it. It's a strategic decision. Yeah. And patent is only, you are so right, it's only one part of a very large puzzle. So the part that I should tell you is, in my entire career of 30 years, I have made more money. I've already told you I've made more money licensing than I have running a company. I've also made more money on copyright and trademark infringement than I have ever made on patent infringement, because it costs $1 million to bring a lawsuit against someone who's infringing your trademarks. Anybody out there that has worked with Amazon knows that if someone has if someone's infringing your copyright or your trademark, Amazon and eBay will take them off immediately, literally the day that you say, hi, here's my copyright and here's the one that's being sold. Those things are pulled. That not so with patents, because patents need a judge and jury to decide if there's actual patent infringement. So you have to bring a lawsuit, and the volley across the bow is going to cost you $1 million. So I want you to be really, really careful when you're thinking that a patent is going to protect you, because in the real world, a patent is a strategic step, but it is not a protection unless you have money, unless you either have a large company behind you or you have the money to go after somebody that's knocking you off. Because here's the reality. You can send out a letter and they can decide, they can send you back, their attorney can send back a letter. And I'm telling you, people, it can be that theirs is a carbon copy of yours. And their attorney will literally send you back a letter. I've been here. And they'll say, we see no similarities at all between your product. And we've read the patent and we don't believe that there's a case. And you're thinking, are you kidding me? Come on.
What are you smoking?
Exactly. But that is because their attorney knows that that's, so that's the first thing.
That's the standard reply to say, even though it's obviously they ripped it off.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the bottom line is you either sue them and they see that you're serious, because if you just keep sending letters, that it's different than, for example, if someone in your family's murdered, the district attorney will step in. If a woman or a man is battered in a relationship, you don't have to pay. You go to the police and say, "Hi, I've been battered." The district attorney steps in. That you don't pay a dime for that. That's in the system. That's the criminal system.
Well, that's good. That's interesting you say it like that, because I think there's a bit of a misnomer thinking that I have a patent, therefore I'm automatically protected. Like it's just they've got this magical force field that's just going to protect them, and that the law will just come down and stop whoever. And they're missing that. Oh, wait, no, they actually have to pay for all of that.
Yeah. See, isn't that's the charm? That's the charm here. We're breaking it down, and I know that some people are wanting to throw themselves out the window right now, but this is what you need to hear. The reality is, to stop somebody, there is no in the civil suit. You have to bring a civil suit. You have to hire an attorney, and I'm going to tell you, pick up the phone and call any intellectual property attorney, anybody that deals with patents, but especially with litigation, and just call them and just say, if I wanted to bring a court action against somebody, what would it cost? And they're going to tell you patent suits are $1 million. So you need to be very clear. There's a couple things. Let's say you're going after somebody and they are knocking your product off, and it is a violation of it. They're infringing on your patent, but they only have $100,000 and you're a good sized company. You can drive them into bankruptcy, and that's it. You won't be able to collect any money. You won't be able, they'll file bankruptcy and they're gone. And you've just spent however much it costs. Let's say you didn't get through the whole process. You only spent, $350,000. That's all you spent. You are not going to recover any of that. So here's the cold, hard reality. There's no, what is that famous song? I never promised you a rose garden. Okay, that's what the patent law has given us. The patent law will say, we'll let you have exclusivity for X number of years, but it's a civil case. And so you're going to have to protect your patent. You're going to have to keep the market monitored. You're going to have to do everything for that patent. And if somebody's ripping it off, you go after them. And if somebody, while you're going after them, if they change or they drop your product, you can keep going after them, but it's more and more money that you'll probably never get back. And it's going to take you 2 to 3 years of your life to get in front of a judge. Isn't this sad? Yes, it is. That's why, luckily, our DNA, all of us, product developers and inventors, we thrive on being able to think creatively. Sorry for all the attorneys that are listening, but you're not really part of our tribe, okay? You're not that creative type of thinker. You went into the law because you love precedent, and lawyers love that. They love to argue against precedent. You know how hard it is to make any kind of sea change in the law. It's insane. So that's because people mostly they goose step along that path. Creators are not like that. So what we get to do is we get to look at the system that's incredibly flawed, and we get to say, how do we think around that? And that's why I'm saying you use patents as a strategic move. You use them when you can license. You use them when you have certain type of products. Otherwise, you consider keeping them trade secret. You consider licensing even a trade secret. I have trade secrets that are licensed. People think there's some sort of strange belief that a patent, as you were saying, Alex, not only does a patent protect you, but that trade secrets don't protect you. That's not the case at all. If I kept it a trade secret for a reason, chances are the company I'm going to be licensing to is also going to want to keep it a trade secret. And there are companies that what they want to do is be first to market with something. First to market wins. If you hear nothing else from this entire broadcast, understand that first to market wins. And so if you are thinking about sitting on your product for a couple years, afraid to show it to anybody. There's ways that you can protect yourself, but good Lord, people, get your product out there, because that's where you're going to make the most money, hands down.
Wow.
I know.
So much.
It's
well,
a lot.
You know what? I think this is a good place to end it on this, and I think we will definitely, let's pick up on the next episode. We'll go a little bit more into about patents. We might as well,
We're going to talk about
we don't want to beat a dead horse kind of thing, but I think there's definitely a sea change in certain things in terms of the laws that have changed.
Yes.
Regarding patents that maybe a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, frankly, I wasn't totally aware of it until more recently myself. So I think that will be really fascinating, because that, again, now we learn that patents are a strategic tool that you're not always going to be using. You just use it when it's appropriate.
Yes.
So I think, but now to better understand that tool, we'll go a little bit more into that in the next episode. So.
And we're talking strategy, by the way, in the next episode as well. We are talking about how do you use a flawed legal system to your advantage? How do you use a provisional patent to your advantage? And how do you have a large company pay for your patent? How do you do that? And we're going to hit it.
Awesome. Talk about a cliffhanger. All right.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Catch you on the next episode.